Right, so now we're going to do the second layer on the body. So with the biggest brush that you've got, and I'm using a Hare, a 2-inch Hare, very carefully, so just put the water on, wet. And this will soak in much more than the first layer did. So you want to put plenty on and very, very softly, because it will lift what's already on there, and we don't want to do that. So just check that you've got it all wet, like really wet. And then I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to paint from the bottom up this time. So I've literally got water puddled. So I'm going to leave it flat, and I'm going to get the hematite violet and sepia, and the sepia is brown and the hematite violet is granulating with that peachy kind of base color and dark charcoal granulating part. So here goes the sepia. So I'm just going to drop it in at the bottom here like so, bringing it up a little bit into those creasy bits. So I'm dropping it on quite strong at the bottom. I'll tip down, takes the water down to it. The sepia is quite sluggish to move. I'm not tipping it up yet though. Then I'm going to pick up hematite, some hematite violet. And you can see how wet it is. I hope you can. There we go. See how wet it is. And then I'm going to drop some hematite violet in there too. Just going to drop it like, dropping it like this, up into these bits here. You can see how wet it is. I don't want it to come all the way to the top though. So I'll just let it sit for a minute. A little bit of a tip one side, a little bit of a tip to the other side. So this is already dried out here. Crazy, it's a puddle here and it's not wet there. So you just kind of got to manage that a little bit. And I'm just going to, I hope you can see this, just going to dry my brush and work up those puddles at the bottom, because I've really got too much water on there. Well, it was lovely to see the colour running around like that. And then I might just add a little bit more hematite genuine at the top here, down his back. I'm just doing like a little random, I'm just like shaking my hand, just dropping that colour in there, under his chin, a little bit more sepia, under the jawline there. And this is where we're going to do a little bit of a, I'm just leave it flat, so it all just puddles out. So I'm just shaking my hand on the surface like that. I'll turn my reference image around so I've got things going in the right direction. And then I'm just doing a few little flicky bits like so. You can do it like this if you want to, because what we're doing is creating a sense of fur. Just pull that down a little bit so it doesn't look as if it's so just look for the darks, look for what's going on there. Taking that pigment off, and then I'm just going to add a bit more water here. And a little bit more, just create a bit more of a round here, because everything on animals is curved and rounded. pulling that pigment up a little bit. And then I will look up, and you can use a tissue if you want to, at the bottom if you've got too much water there. Just put the tissue at the bottom and let it soak up that extra water. Don't do it too soon, no. You need to use the water to move the pigment. So here I'm just going to do a little hand wiggle. And then you can use a tiny wee pointy brush. Just do a few little flicks. Don't make a pattern. Just, you know, almost better to just wiggle your hand. Like so. So we end up with a darker piece at the bottom. And then just manage it as it dries. So this is just a suggestion of that haunches. This is a suggestion of the front leg where it's sitting and kind of hanging down there. Maybe I'll just put a little bit more dark down there. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm just touching it with a loaded brush just to create a bit of a vertical feel there. Then I'll just mop up a little wee bit more water off the bottom. And just manage it as it dries. I think it's time to just let it be flat there. So if you end up with blobs or lines, you can just go in with a wet brush and just dissipate them slightly like this. But don't fuss too much. Just let it do its own thing. And you can see the pigments dripping into sinking into the little tooth of the paper. Okay, so that's all for that one. Oh, actually one thing you could do is a few more little flicks from inside here. In that darker kind of colour. Just fill in the gap there. This is just a wet brush now. So I'm just softening that edge a little bit there and pulling out a few little goethite sort of coloured flicky bits here. They're just little bits that are catching the light on the front of his chest. Don't make them all go in the same direction, just use a shaky hand, the old shaky hand technique to get those there. It's a little bit more goethite on my brush. And what will happen is that these darker colours in the bottom will float out into those spaces. Yeah. I just want to look kind of scruffy. And then I'll do just a few down the back on this side here.